Sarah Chen sat in her car across the street from Mike's Burger Palace. It was 11 o'clock at night and the parking lot was almost empty. She looked at the photos spread across her passenger seat. For 3 months she had been watching this place. For 3 months she had been taking pictures and writing notes. For 3 months she had been waiting for the right moment. Sarah was an FBI agent, but nobody at the restaurant knew that. She was working undercover, which meant she had to keep her real job a secret. She was investigating money laundering. Someone was using Mike's Burger Palace to clean dirty money. They were taking cash from crimes and making it look like normal business income. Sarah's job was to find out who and gather proof. Tonight was the night. She needed to get inside the restaurant. She needed to see the back office. She needed to plant a small listening device that would record conversations. It was risky, but she had no choice. The case was going nowhere, and her bosses wanted results. She checked her watch, took a deep breath, and got out of the car. The cool Seattle air hit her face as she walked across the street. Through the glass windows, she could see only 2 employees working. That was good. Fewer people meant fewer problems. Sarah pushed open the door. A bell rang above her head. A young man behind the counter looked up and smiled. He had tired eyes but a friendly face. "Welcome to Mike's Burger Palace. What can I get for you tonight?" he asked. Sarah walked to the counter and looked at the menu board. The young man's name tag said Minjun. She had seen him before in her surveillance photos. He was the night shift manager, 28 years old, no criminal record. He seemed like a good person caught in the wrong place. "I'll have a burger," Sarah said. Then she started adding details. "Extra pickles, no tomatoes, light mayo, heavy mustard, grilled onions, no cheese, add bacon, and toast the bun extra long." Minjun nodded and typed the order into his computer screen. His fingers moved quickly across the keys, but Sarah noticed his eyes kept moving toward the back office. Someone was in there. She needed to see who. "Anything to drink?" Minjun asked. "Just water," Sarah said. She paid with cash and took her receipt. The number was 42. Minjun called back to the kitchen. "One special burger, Jiwoo. Check the screen for details." Through the kitchen window, Sarah could see another young man. He looked at the order screen and started cooking. His name was Jiwoo, and according to Sarah's research, he was Minjun's best friend. They had known each other since high school. Sarah took a seat where she could watch the office door. It was slightly open, but she couldn't see inside. She needed it to open wider. She needed a reason to get closer. 5 minutes passed. Jiwoo finished making the burger and put it on a tray. Minjun brought it to her table with a smile. "Here you go. One special burger made exactly how you ordered." Sarah picked up the burger and looked at it. She examined the bun carefully. Then she looked up at Minjun. "This bun isn't toasted enough," she said. Minjun's smile faded a little. He looked at the bun. It looked fine to him, but the customer was always right. "I'm so sorry. I'll have them make you a new one right away." He took the tray back to the kitchen. Through the window, Sarah saw Jiwoo's face change. He looked annoyed. He said something to Minjun, but Sarah couldn't hear the words. Minjun said something back and Jiwoo shook his head. But he started making another burger. While they were busy, the office door opened wider. A man in an expensive suit stepped out. He was carrying a briefcase. Sarah recognized him immediately from her investigation. His name was Victor Santos. He owned Mike's Burger Palace and 2 other restaurants in Seattle. But Sarah suspected he was doing much more than selling burgers. Victor looked around the dining area. His eyes landed on Sarah. He stared at her for a moment, then walked toward the back. Sarah quickly looked down at her phone, pretending to scroll through messages, but her heart was beating fast. Did he recognize her? Had she been made? The second burger arrived. Sarah picked it up and took one bite. Then she put it down and made a face. "There's cheese on this," she said. Minjun looked confused. "I'm sorry, what?" "There's cheese. I specifically said no cheese." Sarah pointed at the burger. Minjun looked at it closely. He couldn't see any cheese. He went back to the counter and checked the order screen. It clearly said no cheese. He looked at Jiwoo, who was staring back through the kitchen window with his arms crossed. "Ma'am, I don't see any cheese on that burger," Minjun said politely. "It's there. Maybe it melted into the burger, but I can taste it. I'm allergic to dairy. This could make me sick." Sarah's voice got a little louder. Minjun's professional smile was starting to crack. "I'll make you another one. No charge." "I want to speak to the manager," Sarah said. I am the manager, Minjun replied. I'm the night shift manager. Then I want to speak to the owner. Minjun felt his stomach drop. The owner was Victor Santos, and Victor didn't like being bothered with customer complaints. But he had no choice. Please wait one moment, Minjun said. He walked to the back office and knocked on the doorframe. Sarah couldn't hear what he said, but she saw Victor stand up. There were stacks of papers on his desk, and next to the papers she saw what she had been looking for, stacks of cash and a large accounting book. She needed to photograph that desk. She needed proof. Jiwoo came out from the kitchen. He walked straight to Sarah's table. Ma'am, I made that burger myself. There was no cheese on it. I followed the order exactly. His voice was calm but firm. Are you calling me a liar? Sarah asked. I'm saying I made the burger correctly. Minjun rushed over. Jiwoo, let me handle this. No, this is crazy. She's complained about every single burger. Something's not right here. Jiwoo looked at Sarah with suspicion in his eyes. Victor Santos walked out of the office, leaving the door wide open behind him. Sarah could see the desk clearly now. She slowly moved her phone, pretending to check messages, but actually taking photos. What seems to be the problem? Victor asked. His voice was smooth but cold. Sarah explained her complaints again. Victor listened without expression. When she finished, he looked at her carefully. You know, it's interesting, Victor said. We don't usually get customers like you this late at night. Most people just want food and leave. But you've been here almost 30 minutes and you haven't eaten anything. Sarah felt the danger in his words. He was suspicious. Her cover might be blown. I just want a burger made correctly, she said. Or maybe you want something else, Victor said. Maybe you're not really here for the food. The air in the restaurant felt heavy. Minjun looked between Sarah and Victor, confused. Jiwoo stood with his arms still crossed, waiting to see what would happen. Sarah stood up. Fine, I'll take my business somewhere else. But you'll be hearing from my lawyer, and I'm posting about this online. She started walking toward the door, but Victor's next words stopped her. Feel free to call anyone you want, including the police. We have nothing to hide. It was a direct challenge. Victor knew something. Sarah realized her surveillance operation was completely compromised. This location was useless now. But she couldn't just walk away. If she left, Victor would destroy all the evidence in that office. She needed backup, but calling for it would reveal she was an FBI agent. Outside in the surveillance van, Detective Hayes had been watching through the window. He was Sarah's partner and handler for this operation. He saw the situation going bad. He made a quick decision. Hayes got out of the van and walked across the street. He pushed open the restaurant door and looked around with a concerned expression on his face. Sarah, honey, there you are. I've been looking for you. He walked over to her and took her hand. Is everything okay? Sarah understood immediately. Hayes was giving her an out, creating a normal reason for her to leave. But it also meant adding another person to the situation. Victor Santos watched this new development carefully. Minjun felt relieved. Maybe this man could calm things down and they could all go home. Jiwoo remained skeptical. This felt like a scam. Like something he had seen on TV shows about people who caused problems in restaurants to get free money. Everything's fine, Sarah said to Hayes, playing along. I was just leaving. But through the corner of her eye, she saw Victor moving back toward the office. He was going for the briefcase. They were about to lose everything. Sarah made a split-second decision. As she turned to leave with Hayes, she accidentally knocked her water cup off the table. It hit the floor and water exploded everywhere, spreading across the tile toward the office door. Oh no, I'm so sorry, Sarah said. Minjun and Jiwoo rushed to get cleaning supplies. The small restaurant became chaos. People were moving everywhere. Water was spreading. And in the confusion, Sarah positioned herself to block Victor's path to the office. The situation was spinning out of control, and nobody knew where it would end. Water spread across the floor like a small flood. Minjun ran to get a mop from the storage closet. Jiwoo grabbed towels from the kitchen. Hayes moved to help Sarah, stepping between Victor Santos and the back exit. Everyone was moving in different directions in the small space. Victor tried to get past the mess and back to his office. He needed to secure that briefcase. But Sarah was in his way, apologizing loudly and making a big show of trying to help clean up the water. Every time Victor tried to move around her, she shifted position, still blocking him. Please, just let me get through, Victor said. his voice tight. "I'm so sorry, I'm so clumsy," Sarah said, wiping at the water with napkins. Min-jun returned with the mop. He started cleaning quickly, wanting this nightmare to end. The floor was slippery now, and he worried someone might fall and get hurt. That would make a bad night even worse. Ji-woo pushed past everyone with an armful of towels. He threw them on the floor to soak up the water. He was angry now. This whole situation felt wrong. The difficult customer, the spilled drink, the husband showing up, it all felt planned. "This is a scam," Ji-woo said out loud. "You're running some kind of scam." "Excuse me?" Hayes said, looking at Ji-woo. "You heard me. She comes in, complains about everything, causes a mess, and now you show up. What's next? You'll say you hurt yourself and want money?" "Ji-woo, stop," Min-jun said quietly. He didn't want more problems, but Ji-woo was tired and frustrated. "No, I've worked here for 6 years. I've seen people try this before. Make a scene, get free food, maybe threaten to sue. Well, it's not working tonight." Sarah realized they needed to end this situation before it got worse. But she also saw Victor's hand moving toward his jacket. She had worked undercover long enough to recognize that movement. He was reaching for a gun. Everything stopped when Victor pulled out a black pistol. He didn't point it at anyone, just held it at his side. But everyone saw it. The message was clear. Min-jun dropped the mop. His hands went up automatically. His mouth went dry. He had never seen a real gun this close before. Ji-woo stepped backward toward the kitchen, his eyes wide with fear. The anger drained out of him instantly. Hayes stopped moving. His own gun was hidden under his jacket, but he couldn't reach for it without causing more danger. Too many people were too close together. "Nobody move," Victor said quietly. Sarah slowly reached into her pocket and pulled out a leather wallet. She flipped it open to show her FBI badge. The gold shield gleamed under the restaurant lights. "Federal agent," Sarah said. "Put the gun down, Mr. Santos. This building is surrounded." It was a lie. Only Hayes' partner was outside in the van. But Sarah hoped Victor would believe her. Min-jun stared at the badge, his mind trying to make sense of everything. The difficult customer was FBI? This whole time? Ji-woo made a small noise in his throat, somewhere between surprise and fear. But Victor didn't put the gun down. Instead, he laughed. It was a bitter, tired sound. "You made a big mistake, Agent," Victor said. "You've been investigating me for months. I know that. I've seen the surveillance van. I've noticed the photos being taken. But you're looking at the wrong person." Sarah kept her voice calm. "Mr. Santos, we have evidence of money laundering through this restaurant. You're right. There is money laundering here. But I'm not the one doing it." Victor slowly opened his briefcase with one hand, keeping the gun in his other hand. Inside were papers and documents, all organized neatly. "I discovered it 3 weeks ago. I've been gathering evidence to take to the police. My brother-in-law, Marcus, runs the day shift. He's the one washing money for the Cordero crime family." The revelation hit Sarah like cold water. 3 months of surveillance. 3 months of watching Victor Santos. And she had been wrong the entire time. Hayes spoke up. "If that's true, why didn't you contact the authorities?" "Because the Cordero family threatened my wife and kids," Victor said. His voice cracked a little. "They told me if I talked, my family would disappear. So I decided to gather enough evidence that they couldn't threaten me anymore. Evidence so complete that the FBI would have to protect my family." Min-jun found his voice. "Marcus, your brother-in-law Marcus?" He felt sick. He had worked with Marcus for 3 years. Marcus taught him how to do the bank deposits. Marcus showed him how to use the accounting system. "You've been processing his dirty transactions and never knew it," Victor said. "I'm sorry, Min-jun. I should have told you sooner." Ji-woo pointed at the window. "Guys, Marcus just pulled into the parking lot." Everyone turned to look. Through the glass, they could see Marcus getting out of his car. He was carrying the night deposit bag, whistling and smiling. He had no idea what was waiting inside. Sarah's mind raced. This changed everything. If Marcus was really the target, she needed to arrest him with evidence. But she also needed Victor to put the gun away before someone got hurt. Mr. Santos put the gun down. "Let us handle this," Sarah said. Victor lowered the weapon but didn't put it away. "He's supposed to do the bank deposit and then count tonight's receipts in the office. That's when I was going to call the police. That's when I'd have him with cash and documents together." "We need to act normal," Hayes said quickly. "If Marcus suspects something, he'll run." Sarah nodded. "Everyone, just act like nothing happened." Mr. Santos, go back to your office. Minjun, Jiwoo, pretend you're still cleaning. Detective Hayes, hide in the bathroom. I'll go back to being a difficult customer. They all moved quickly. Victor walked to the office but left the door cracked open. Hayes slipped into the bathroom. Minjun and Jiwoo picked up their mop and towels, but their hands were shaking. Sarah sat back down at her table. The door opened and Marcus walked in. He was 40 years old with a friendly face and an easy smile. He looked like someone's favorite uncle. Hey, Minjun, why's the floor all wet? What happened? Marcus asked cheerfully. Minjun tried to speak, but his voice came out strange. Just a spill. Customer knocked over a drink. Marcus looked at Sarah sitting at her table. His smile faded. His eyes narrowed. He stared at her face like he was trying to remember something. Sarah felt her stomach drop. He recognized her from somewhere. Do I know you? Marcus asked, walking closer to her table. I don't think so, Sarah said. I'm just waiting for my food order. But Marcus kept staring. Then his face changed completely. The color drained away. His friendly expression turned to fear and anger. You're that FBI agent, Marcus said. I've seen your picture. The Cordero family showed us photos. They warned us about you. He reached into his jacket. Sarah jumped up from her seat. Hayes burst out of the bathroom, his gun drawn. Don't move. Police! Hayes shouted. Marcus froze with his hand inside his jacket. For a moment, nobody breathed. Then the front door crashed open. 2 men rushed in, both holding guns. They wore dark clothes and had hard faces. These were enforcers from the Cordero crime family. They had been following Marcus, watching for trouble. One of the men was older, maybe 50, with gray hair and cold eyes. The other was younger, nervous, his gun hand shaking slightly. The older man spoke first. Everyone stay calm. Nobody needs to get hurt. His voice was like gravel. Hayes kept his gun trained on them. Federal agents. Lower your weapons. The older man, whose name was Hector, smiled without humor. I don't think so. You shoot, we shoot. Lots of people die. Better if we all just talk. Minjun and Jiwoo stood frozen in the middle of the restaurant. They were caught between armed criminals on one side and armed agents on the other. Minjun's mind couldn't process what was happening. An hour ago, his biggest worry was running out of French fries. Now he was in the middle of a standoff with guns. Jiwoo slowly raised his hands. We're just employees. We don't have anything to do with this. Nobody leaves, Hector said. Everyone put your phones on the floor now. One by one, they complied. Sarah put her phone down. Hayes kept his gun up but used his other hand to toss his phone toward Hector. Minjun and Jiwoo dropped their phones. Marcus threw his phone so hard it skidded across the floor. The younger enforcer, whose hands were still shaking, kicked all the phones into a pile near the door. Good, Hector said. Now we're going to figure out how to fix this situation. Victor Santos spoke from the office doorway. There's nothing to fix. The FBI knows everything. You can't threaten your way out of this. Hector turned his gun toward Victor. We can't? I think I can solve a lot of problems right now. Starting with you, the traitor who's been gathering evidence. Kill me and 20 more agents show up, Victor said. But his voice shook. Marcus tried to negotiate. Hector, listen. We can work this out. I'll take all the blame. I'll say I did everything alone. Victor doesn't know anything. The agents don't have proof. Shut up, Marcus, Hector said. You've been sloppy for months. We've been watching you. We knew you'd bring the FBI down on us eventually. Sarah tried to use her negotiation training. Hector, is that your name? Hector, killing federal agents will bring an army down on the Cordero family. Every law enforcement agency in the state will hunt them. Is that what your bosses want? We're already past that point, Hector said. The only question now is how many witnesses walk out of here. Minjun realized what that meant. Hector was planning to kill everyone. He looked at Jiwoo, his best friend since they were teenagers. They had survived high school together, worked together, complained about difficult customers together. And now they might die together in this fast food restaurant. We need to do something, Jiwoo whispered. What can we do? Minjun whispered back. The younger enforcer was watching them, his gun pointed in their general direction. He looked scared, which made him more dangerous. Scared people with guns made mistakes. Minjun had an idea. It was crazy, but they were out of options. Can I make everyone food? Minjun said out loud. Everyone turned to look at him. Hector raised an eyebrow. What? Food, Minjun said again. This is going to take a while, right? Everyone must be hungry. Let me and Jiwoo go to the kitchen and cook. It'll help everyone calm down and think clearly. It was such an absurd suggestion that Hector actually considered it. He was hungry. They might be here for hours, and two scared fast food workers weren't a threat. Fine, Hector said. But you, he pointed at the younger enforcer, watch them. They try anything, shoot them. Minjun and Jiwoo walked carefully to the kitchen. The young enforcer followed, keeping his gun trained on them. Once inside, Minjun started pulling out burger patties and buns. His hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped everything. Jiwoo turned on the fryer. As the oil heated up, he moved close to Minjun and whispered so quietly that only his friend could hear. There's a panic button under the prep station. Security company installed it last year after that robbery attempt. Remember? Minjun did remember. The button connected directly to the security monitoring company, which would alert the police. But the enforcer was watching them closely. How could they press it without being seen? You'll have to distract him, Minjun whispered back. Jiwoo nodded slightly. He started making burgers, talking loudly about how to cook them properly. You need to flip them at exactly the right time, he said to the enforcer. That's the secret to a good burger. The young enforcer didn't care about burgers, but Jiwoo kept talking, kept moving around, drawing attention to himself. Minjun slowly worked his way toward the prep station. His heart was pounding so hard he thought everyone could hear it. The fryer alarm went off, loud and sudden. The enforcer jumped, startled. In that moment, with the alarm ringing and everyone distracted, Minjun reached under the prep station and pressed the button. Nothing happened. No sound, no light. Just like it was designed. Silent alarm, sorry, Jiwoo said, taking the fries out. That alarm is really loud. The enforcer relaxed again. He didn't know that help was coming. But help would take time. The security company had to verify the alarm, then call the police. The police had to respond. All of that would take at least 10 or 15 minutes. In the dining area, the standoff continued. Sarah tried to keep Hector talking, buying time. Hayes looked for an opening, any chance to turn the situation around. Victor stayed in his office doorway, protecting his evidence. Marcus sat in a chair, his head in his hands, realizing his life was over, and Minjun and Jiwoo made burgers, hoping they had just saved everyone's lives. The smell of cooking burgers filled the restaurant. It was strange how normal it seemed. The fryer bubbled with French fries. Patties sizzled on the grill. But everyone in the dining area held their breath, waiting for something to break. Hector stood near the front door, his gun still drawn. He kept looking out the window at the parking lot. The younger enforcer watched Minjun and Jiwoo from the kitchen doorway. His gun hand was steadier now, but sweat ran down his face. Hayes hadn't moved from his position. His gun remained pointed at Hector, but his arm was getting tired. Sarah watched everyone carefully, looking for any chance to change the situation. Marcus sat with his head down, defeated. Victor Santos stayed in the office doorway, one hand on the doorframe. Food's almost ready, Jiwoo called out. He was trying to keep his voice normal, but it shook a little. Minjun plated the burgers carefully. His training took over, even in this crazy situation. He made each burger look good, adding the right amount of everything. It kept his hands busy and his mind focused. If he thought too much about the guns, he might panic. They carried the food out. The young enforcer followed them, gun still raised. Minjun set plates on tables. He gave one to Hector, one to Hayes, one to Sarah. Jiwoo brought out fries and drinks. Sit down and eat yours too. Hector said to Minjun and Jiwoo, everyone together where I can see you. They sat at a table near the kitchen. Minjun picked up his burger but couldn't eat. His stomach was twisted in knots. Beside him, Jiwoo stared at his food without touching it. Hector ate with one hand, gun in the other. Not bad, he said. Better than I expected. No one else was eating. The burger sat untouched. The tension was too thick. How long are you planning to keep us here? Sarah asked. Until I figure out what to do with you. Hector answered. The Cordero family pays me to solve problems. You're all problems. The longer we're here, the more likely someone notices, Hayes said. Another customer might come in. A police patrol might drive by. Then we'll deal with that too, Hector said. Marcus finally spoke. Just let Minjun and Jiwoo go. They don't know anything. They're innocent. Nobody's innocent, Hector said. They've seen our faces. They heard everything. Can't let them walk. Minjun felt ice in his stomach. This man was really talking about killing them. He looked at Jiwoo, who had gone pale. They were just trying to work their shift. They didn't ask for any of this. Victor Santos stepped out of the office. "I have a suggestion," he said. "Let me trade myself for them. I'm the one who gathered evidence against your organization. I'm the real problem. Let the employees go." "That's very noble," Hector said, "but no, nobody leaves until this is resolved." Sarah's phone, still on the floor with the others, buzzed. Everyone looked at it. Then Hayes' phone buzzed. Then Minjun's phone. "What's that?" the young enforcer asked nervously. Hector walked over and looked at the phones without picking them up. His face changed. "Everyone's getting the same message," he said. He kicked one of the phones toward Sarah. "Read it." Out loud, Sarah picked up the phone and looked at the screen. Her blood went cold. The message said, "Then stay down. 5 minutes." There was a symbol at the bottom, a crown with 3 points. The Cordero family's signature. "What does that mean?" Minjun asked. Victor Santos's face went white. "Oh no, oh God, no, what?" Jiwoo demanded. "What does 5 minutes mean?" "It means a cleanup crew is coming," Victor said, his voice shaking. "The Cordero family sends them when they need to eliminate everyone and destroy evidence. They use bombs, fire, whatever it takes. 5 minutes is their warning." Hayes immediately raised his radio. "Rodriguez, this is Hayes. We need to evacuate the area now." "Possible explosive threat," but then all the lights went out. The restaurant plunged into darkness. Emergency lighting kicked in a moment later, casting everything in a dim, eerie glow. "They cut the power," Hector said. He didn't sound surprised. "They're already here." "What?" Sarah stood up quickly. "The message said 5 minutes. Marcus laughed, but it was a desperate sound. "The message always says 5 minutes. But they actually come in 3. It's a trap. They want you evacuating when they arrive. Makes it easier to catch everyone." Hayes grabbed his radio again, but it was dead. "They're jamming communications." Minjun's mind raced. 3 minutes meant the cleanup crew was arriving right now. They needed a plan immediately. He looked around the restaurant, thinking about every corner he knew from 6 years of working here. "The walk-in freezer," Minjun said suddenly. "It's metal and insulated. We could hide there." "They'll check everywhere," Hector said. "These aren't amateurs," Jiwoo stood up. "There's also a maintenance crawl space above the kitchen. It goes to the roof. I've used it to fix the air conditioning." Sarah understood what he was suggesting. "If we split up, some hide and some ambush, we might have a chance." "We don't have much time," Hayes said. "We need to decide now." Victor Santos nodded. "I know the Cordero cleanup protocol. I've heard Marcus talk about it. They'll breach from 2 sides, front door and kitchen exit. They use flashbangs and overwhelming force. The goal is to kill everyone fast, then burn the building." "How do you know all this?" the young enforcer asked. His name was Miguel, though no one knew it yet. "Because I planned escapes in case they ever came after my family," Victor said. "I studied everything about how they operate." Sarah made a decision. "Here's what we do. We fake the scene. Make it look like everyone's already dead. When they come in, they'll see what they expect, bodies everywhere. We hide and ambush them." "That's crazy," Marcus said. "You have a better idea." Sarah shot back. Hayes nodded. "It might work. We have about 2 minutes. Let's move." They worked fast. Jiwoo ran to get ketchup bottles and other red liquids from the kitchen. They squirted them on the floor and walls to look like blood. Minjun grabbed chairs and tables, overturning them to create a scene of violence. "Hector, you and Miguel need to look like you won the fight," Sarah said. "Lie down near the door like you're the shooters." Hector stared at her. "Why would I help you?" "Because that cleanup crew will kill you too," Sarah said. "You think the Cordero family wants witnesses? They're cleaning house. Everyone dies tonight, including you." Hector's face showed he understood. The family was tying up loose ends. He and Miguel were loose ends too. "Fine," Hector said. "But if this goes wrong, I'm shooting all of you first." They positioned Hector and Miguel near the front, lying down with their guns nearby, as if they had just finished a fight. Marcus lay on the floor near the counter, playing dead. They smeared fake blood on him. Victor Santos ran to his office and grabbed his briefcase and documents. "I'm not losing this evidence," he said. "Office now. Stay hidden," Sarah ordered him. Hayes and Sarah took positions behind overturned tables with clear views of both entrances. They would be the ambush. "Minjun, Jiwoo, get in that crawl space," Hayes said. "Stay quiet no matter what happens." Minjun and Jiwoo ran to the kitchen. Jiwoo climbed onto the prep counter and pushed open the ceiling panel. He pulled himself up into the narrow space. Minjun followed, his heart pounding. As Minjun climbed, he grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall. He didn't know why, just instinct. Ji-woo helped pull him into the crawl space, and they pushed the panel mostly closed, leaving a tiny gap to see through. From above, they could see the kitchen below. The emergency lights made everything look like a horror movie. Shadows moved strangely. The fake blood looked almost real. They heard sounds outside. Cutting tools on the locks. The cleanup crew was here. "Stay absolutely still," Ji-woo whispered into Minjun's ear. "Don't even breathe loud," Minjun nodded. He clutched the fire extinguisher to his chest. Through the gap in the ceiling panel, he could see the dining area. Everyone was in position. The fake crime scene looked convincing. The front door burst open. 3 figures in tactical gear rushed in. They wore black clothes and night vision goggles. They moved like soldiers, weapons raised, scanning the room efficiently. Through the kitchen exit, Minjun heard more cutting sounds. They were coming from both sides, just like Victor said. The lead operative entered the dining area. He looked around at the bodies and overturned furniture. He said something into a radio on his shoulder, but Minjun couldn't hear the words. One of the operatives approached Hector, who was lying still on the floor. The operative kicked Hector's leg slightly. Hector groaned, playing his part perfectly. He was supposed to be injured but alive. The operative leaned down closer to hear what Hector was trying to say. This was the moment Sarah and Hayes planned for. Get the cleanup crew relaxed, thinking the job was already done. But then everything fell apart. Marcus suddenly moved. He wasn't supposed to move. He was supposed to stay perfectly still, but Marcus grabbed the gun that was lying near him, left there as part of the scene. He raised it and fired at the cleanup crew. The shot was incredibly loud in the enclosed space. One of the operatives went down. The other 2 immediately returned fire. The careful plan exploded into chaos. Sarah and Hayes had no choice. They started shooting from their positions. The cleanup crew realized it was an ambush and dove for cover. Bullets flew everywhere. In the crawl space, Minjun pressed himself flat against the metal surface. Below him, he saw the kitchen door burst open. Another operative entered from the back. Bullets were hitting walls, equipment, everything. Then Minjun saw something that made his heart stop. A bullet hit the gas line to the stove. There was a hissing sound. Gas began leaking into the kitchen. "The gas line," Minjun shouted down. "Someone has to shut it off." But no one could hear him over the gunfire. The gas kept hissing, filling the kitchen. If anyone fired a gun in there or if a spark happened, the whole building could explode. Ji-woo grabbed Minjun's arm. "We have to do something. What can we do?" Minjun asked, terrified. "The shutoff valve is on the wall near the fryer. Someone has to get to it." Minjun looked at his best friend. They were safe up here. Going down meant going into a room that could explode any second. Going down meant going into the middle of a gunfight. But if they didn't shut off the gas, everyone would die. All of them. Sarah, Hayes, Victor, everyone. Even the criminals. The whole building would become a fireball. "I'll do it," Minjun said. "We'll do it together," Ji-woo said. They pushed open the ceiling panel. Minjun dropped down first, still holding the fire extinguisher. He hit the ground and immediately started running toward the shutoff valve. The gas smell was strong now, making him dizzy. Bullets were still flying in the dining area. Someone shouted. Glass shattered. Minjun ran across the slippery floor, the same floor they had mopped earlier. His feet almost went out from under him. The shutoff valve was bright red on the white wall. Minjun reached for it just as another bullet hit somewhere nearby. He twisted the valve with all his strength. It was stiff from never being used. He twisted harder. Ji-woo landed behind him and ran to help. Together they turned the valve. The hissing stopped. The gas was shut off, but now they were in the middle of a war zone. They had no way to get back up to the crawlspace safely. They were trapped in the kitchen with bullets flying and armed men everywhere. Minjun looked at Ji-woo. His best friend's eyes were wide with fear but also determination. They had stopped the gas leak. They had saved everyone from an explosion. Now they just had to survive the next few minutes. In the dining area, Sarah had managed to take down one operative. Hayes was pinned behind a table trying to get a clear shot. Hector realized they were all on the same side now. Everyone against the cleanup crew. He started shooting at the operatives too. The firefight was brutal and close. The restaurant was too small for this. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide that was really safe. And Minjun and Ji-woo, two fast food workers who just wanted to finish their shift and go home, We're right in the middle of it all. Min-jun pressed himself against the kitchen wall, still holding the fire extinguisher. Beside him, Ji-woo was breathing hard, eyes darting around looking for cover. In the dining area, the gunfight continued. The sound of shots was deafening in the small space. One of the cleanup crew operatives rushed toward the kitchen. He had seen Min-jun and Ji-woo come down from the ceiling and knew they were witnesses. He raised his weapon as he came through the doorway. Min-jun didn't think. He just reacted. He pulled the pin on the fire extinguisher and sprayed it directly at the operative. White foam exploded everywhere, covering the man's night vision goggles. The operative stumbled backward, temporarily blinded. Ji-woo grabbed a metal tray from the counter and swung it hard. It connected with the operative's arm, knocking his gun away. The weapon skidded across the floor into the dining area. "Run!" Ji-woo shouted. They ran toward the dining area, away from the blinded operative. Min-jun still held the fire extinguisher, using the last of its foam to create a white cloud behind them. It wasn't much protection, but it was something. Sarah saw them coming and waved them toward her position. "Get down! Stay low!" Min-jun and Ji-woo dove behind the overturned table with Sarah. Bullets hit the table, making loud banging sounds. Min-jun could feel the impacts through the metal legs. "What were you thinking?" Sarah shouted at them. "I told you to stay hidden." "Gas leak," Min-jun shouted back. "Had to shut it off." Sarah's expression changed from anger to understanding. "You saved us all," Hayes called out from across the room. "2 operatives down. 1 still active, southeast corner." The remaining operative had taken cover behind the front counter. He was pinned down but dangerous. Every time someone moved, he fired. They were at a stalemate. Hector crawled toward Sarah's position. He was bleeding from his shoulder but still holding his gun. "We need to end this before more backup arrives." "You're shot," Sarah said. "I'll live." "Maybe." Hector looked at the situation tactically. "He's got the high ground behind that counter. We need to flush him out." Miguel, the younger enforcer, was hiding behind a booth. He looked terrified. "I didn't sign up for this. This was supposed to be easy money." "Life's full of surprises," Hayes said. He popped up and fired 2 quick shots at the operative's position, then ducked back down. Victor Santos was still in the office. He shouted from there, "I'm calling 911 on the office landline." The cleanup crew didn't cut that line. "Good," Sarah shouted back. "Tell them officer down, multiple shooters, active situation." The operative behind the counter heard this. He knew his time was limited now. He made a desperate decision. He pulled something from his vest, a grenade. "Grenade!" Hayes screamed. Everyone scrambled. The operative pulled the pin and threw it toward the middle of the dining area. It bounced once, twice, rolling toward where Min-jun and Ji-woo were hiding. Min-jun stared at the grenade in horror. He had seen them in movies but never imagined seeing one in real life. It looked small and dark, rolling across the floor in slow motion. Ji-woo grabbed Min-jun and pulled him toward the kitchen. "Move, move, move," but they wouldn't make it in time. The grenade would explode in seconds. Hector, despite his shoulder wound, launched himself at the grenade. He grabbed it and threw it back toward the front counter where the operative was hiding. His throw was weak because of his injury, but it was enough. The grenade landed behind the counter. The operative's eyes went wide. He tried to run, but there was no time. The explosion was massive. The counter shattered into pieces. The front windows blew out. The force knocked everyone down. Min-jun's ears rang. He couldn't hear anything except a high-pitched whine. White smoke and dust filled the air. He tried to get up, but his legs felt weak. Ji-woo pulled him to his feet. His friend's mouth was moving, but Min-jun couldn't hear the words. Ji-woo pointed toward the front door. The explosion had blown it completely open. Fresh air rushed in, clearing some of the smoke. Through the opening, Min-jun saw flashing red and blue lights. Police cars were arriving. The panic button had worked. Help was here. Sarah got up slowly, checking herself for injuries. She was bruised and covered in dust, but alive. She looked around at everyone. Sound off. Is anyone hit? Hayes stood up from behind his overturned table. "I'm good." Victor Santos emerged from the office, coughing. "Alive." Marcus was still on the floor, but moving. "Here." Miguel crawled out from behind the booth, crying. "Please don't shoot me. I want to go home." Hector lay on his back, staring at the ceiling. His shoulder wound was bleeding more now, still breathing barely. Min-jun's hearing started coming back. First muffled, then clearer. He could hear sirens now. lots of sirens. The police response was massive. The operative who had thrown the grenade was dead. The explosion had been too close. Minjun tried not to look at the body, but it was hard to avoid. This was real. People had died tonight in his restaurant. Sarah went to the shattered front entrance. Police officers were setting up a perimeter outside. She held up her FBI badge and shouted, "Federal agent inside. We have the situation under control. Suspects are secured." But the lead police officer shouted back, "Stay where you are. We need to verify. Keep everyone inside until we can sort this out." It was standard procedure. After a shooting, police couldn't trust anyone until they understood what happened. Sarah knew this. She put her badge down and raised her hands, showing she wasn't a threat. Hayes did the same. They both stood where police could see them clearly through the broken windows. An ambulance arrived. Paramedics wanted to come in, but police held them back until the scene was secure. Hector was bleeding badly now. He needed medical attention soon. "Apply pressure to his wound," Sarah told Minjun and Jiwoo. They ran over to Hector. Up close, he looked older and more tired. Not like a scary criminal, just like someone's father or uncle who made bad choices. Minjun pressed his hands against the bullet wound. His hands came away red with blood. "Thank you," Hector said quietly. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry you got dragged into this. Why did you save us?" Jiwoo asked. "The grenade. You threw it back," Hector coughed. "Because the Cordero family was going to kill me anyway. Might as well do one good thing before I die." "You're not going to die," Minjun said, though he wasn't sure if that was true. The wound looked bad. More police arrived. Then FBI agents. Then tactical teams. The small restaurant parking lot filled with emergency vehicles. Lights flashed everywhere, red, blue, white. The scene looked like something from a war zone. Agent Rodriguez, Hayes' partner from the surveillance van, finally got through the police perimeter. She rushed to the restaurant entrance. "Hayes! Sarah, you guys okay?" she called. "We're alive," Hayes called back. "But we need medical in here now. We have wounded." The police lieutenant in charge conferred with Rodriguez. After verifying identities and getting a quick brief, they finally allowed paramedics to enter. Medical teams rushed in. They went to Hector first since he was worst. They cut away his shirt and started working on his shoulder. Another team checked everyone else for injuries. A paramedic examined Minjun's hands, cut and bruised from climbing through the ceiling and handling the fire extinguisher. Another checked Jiwoo's arm where he had slammed into something during the explosion. "You boys are lucky," the paramedic said. "This could have been much worse. Lucky." Minjun almost laughed. Nothing about tonight felt lucky. His restaurant was destroyed. People had died. He had seen things that would probably give him nightmares for years. Detective Hayes approached Minjun and Jiwoo. "I need to get statements from both of you. But first I want to say thank you. That gas leak could have killed all of us. You showed real courage." "We were terrified," Jiwoo admitted. "Courage isn't not being scared," Hayes said. "It's being scared and doing the right thing anyway." Sarah joined them. She had dust in her hair and a cut on her forehead, but she was smiling slightly. "You two should consider careers in law enforcement. You've got good instincts." "No, thank you," Minjun said immediately. "I'm going back to just making burgers. Simple burgers. No special requests," everyone laughed. It felt good to laugh after everything. They loaded Hector into an ambulance. He would survive, the paramedic said. But he'd be going from the hospital to jail. Miguel was already in custody, sitting in the back of a police car. He was cooperating fully, telling police everything about the Cordero family operations. Marcus was in another police car. He wasn't saying anything, just staring straight ahead with empty eyes. His life was over. He knew it. Victor Santos sat on the curb, his briefcase of evidence next to him. FBI agents were already going through his documents, taking photos and making notes. His information would help take down the entire Cordero organization in Seattle. An FBI forensics team arrived and started processing the scene. They took photos of everything. The bodies, the bullet holes, the broken furniture, the fake blood mixed with real blood. It would take hours to document everything. The restaurant was officially a crime scene. Yellow tape went up around the entire building. No one could enter except law enforcement and forensic teams. Minjun and Jiwoo sat together on the hood of a police car, wrapped in emergency blankets even though it wasn't that cold. Shock made people feel cold, the paramedics explained. "I can't believe we survived that," Jiwoo said. I can't believe it happened at all, Min-jun replied. I thought tonight would be boring. A few late-night customers, maybe clean the fryer, go home. Instead, we saved the FBI and shut off a gas leak during a shootout. When you say it like that, it sounds crazy. It was crazy. They sat in silence for a moment, watching all the activity around them. Police interviewed witnesses from nearby buildings. FBI agents coordinated with local law enforcement. Crime scene investigators worked methodically through the destroyed restaurant. A news van pulled up. Then another. Reporters were arriving. This would be a big story. FBI operation, shootout, criminal organization. The media would talk about it for days. A victim advocate approached Min-jun and Ji-woo. She was kind and gentle, explaining what would happen next. They'd need to give formal statements. They'd probably need therapy for trauma. The restaurant would be closed for a long time. What about our jobs? Min-jun asked. We need to work. Mr. Santos is over there, the advocate said. He told me to tell you that you're still employed and he'll keep paying you. He also said to tell you that you're both heroes. Heroes. Min-jun didn't feel like a hero. He felt exhausted and scared and confused. But he appreciated Victor's message. Sarah approached them one more time before she had to go give her own statement. I need you both to know something. What happened tonight wasn't your fault. You were innocent people who got caught in a bad situation, but you handled it better than most trained professionals would have. You should be proud. Will we have to testify in court? Ji-woo asked. Probably, Sarah admitted. But we'll help you through it. You'll have protection if you need it. The Cordero family won't be able to hurt you. After she left, Min-jun looked at his best friend. Remember when our biggest worry was getting the burger orders right? Yeah, Ji-woo said. That was a better time. You think things will ever be normal again? Eventually, maybe. Ji-woo managed a weak smile. At least we'll have one hell of a story to tell. The sun was starting to rise. The dark sky was turning gray, then pink. Morning was coming. The longest night of their lives was finally ending. Police finished taking initial statements and said Min-jun and Ji-woo could go home. Someone would contact them later for more detailed interviews. They were free to leave. They stood up slowly, their bodies aching. Every muscle hurt. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving them feeling drained. As they walked to Ji-woo's car, Min-jun looked back at the restaurant one last time. Mike's Burger Palace was destroyed. The front windows were gone. The door hung off its hinges. The inside was wrecked. It looked like a bomb had gone off, which basically had, but they had survived. Against all odds, they had survived. Let's go home, Ji-woo said. Yeah, Min-jun agreed. Let's go home. Min-jun didn't sleep that day. He tried when he got home, but every time he closed his eyes, he saw the grenade rolling across the floor. He saw guns pointing at him. He heard the explosion again and again in his head. He gave up trying to sleep around noon and just sat on his couch, staring at his TV without really watching it. His phone kept buzzing. News alerts. Text messages from friends who had seen the story on the news. His mother called 3 times, but he didn't answer. He didn't know what to tell her yet. Ji-woo texted him around 2 in the afternoon. You okay? Can't sleep either. Same, Min-jun texted back. Everything feels weird. Want to meet up? Coffee? They met at a small cafe far from the restaurant. It was quiet and normal there. Regular people doing regular things. It felt surreal after last night. Ji-woo looked as tired as Min-jun felt. He had dark circles under his eyes and his hands shook slightly when he picked up his coffee. I keep thinking about it, Ji-woo said. Every detail. Over and over. Me too, Min-jun said. Did that really happen? Or did we imagine it? My bruises say it really happened. Ji-woo touched his arm where he had hit the wall during the explosion. They sat in silence for a while, both lost in their own thoughts. Other customers chatted and laughed around them. How could life just go on normally for everyone else? Didn't they know what had happened? But of course they didn't. The news reported FBI operation results in shootout at local restaurant. They mentioned casualties and arrests, but they didn't talk about what it felt like to be there. They didn't talk about the fear or the smell of gunpowder, or the way time seemed to move both too fast and too slow. Min-jun's phone rang. It was a number he didn't recognize. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Hello? Mr. Park? This is Agent Sarah Chen. We met last night. How could he forget? Yes, I remember. I'm calling to check on you and Mr. Kim. How are you both holding up? Minjun looked at Jiwoo across the table. We're okay, tired, can't sleep. That's normal after trauma, Sarah said gently. I wanted to let you know that we have a victim assistance program. We can connect you with counselors who specialize in trauma. No cost to you. Therapy? If you want it. Some people find it helps to talk to someone professional about what they experienced. No pressure, but the offer is there. Minjun thought about it. Can I think about it? Of course. Take all the time you need. I also wanted to update you on the case. We arrested 17 Cordero family members today. The evidence Mr. Santos gathered, combined with what happened last night, gave us everything we needed. We're dismantling their entire Seattle operation. That was good news. It meant they were safe. The Cordero family couldn't come after them now. There's one more thing, Sarah continued. The media wants to interview you. They're calling you heroes, but you don't have to talk to them if you don't want to. Your privacy is protected. Heroes, Minjun repeated. Jiwoo looked up at the word. You saved lives last night. You shut off that gas leak in the middle of a firefight. Most people would have frozen. You acted. After the call ended, Minjun told Jiwoo what Sarah had said. About the arrests. About the media. About therapy. Heroes, Jiwoo said, testing the word. I don't feel like a hero. Neither do I, Minjun agreed. But other people clearly thought they were. When they left the cafe, a woman recognized them from the news. You're the guys from the restaurant. Oh my God, you were so brave. It was the first time, but not the last. Over the next few days, more people recognized them. Some wanted to shake their hands. Some wanted photos. One old man offered to buy them lunch. The attention was uncomfortable. Minjun didn't want to be famous. He just wanted things to go back to normal. 3 days after the incident, Victor Santos called them both. Could they meet him at his other restaurant? He wanted to talk. They met him at a small diner he owned across town. Victor looked older than Minjun remembered. The stress had aged him. Thank you for coming, Victor said. He gestured for them to sit. I'll get right to the point. Mike's Burger Palace is going to be closed for at least 3 months. Maybe longer. The damage is extensive and the police still have it as a crime scene. Minjun's heart sank. 3 months without work? He had bills to pay, rent to cover. But, Victor continued, I meant what I said. You're both still employed. I'm going to pay you your full salary while the restaurant is closed. You earned it. You don't have to do that, Jiwoo said. Yes, I do. You risked your lives. You saved everyone. The least I can do is make sure you're taken care of financially. Victor slid 2 envelopes across the table. This is your pay for this month plus a bonus. And I have a proposal. Once Mike's Burger Palace reopens, I want you both to have management positions. Better pay, better hours. You've proven you can handle pressure. It was generous. More than generous. But Minjun had to be honest. Mr. Santos, I don't know if I can go back there. Every time I think about that restaurant, I see guns and explosions. I don't know if I can work there again. Victor nodded like he expected this. I understand completely. The offer stands whenever you're ready. No pressure. And if you never feel ready, I'll help you find positions at my other locations. They talked for another hour. Victor told them about the investigation, about how the FBI had praised his evidence gathering, about how his family was safe now, about how Marcus would probably go to prison for 20 years. Marcus was my brother-in-law, Victor said quietly. My wife's brother. This is destroying her. But he made his choices. It was sad. Families torn apart. Lives ruined. All because of money and greed. A week passed. Then another. Minjun and Jiwoo went to the FBI office several times to give detailed statements. They met with lawyers. They signed papers. The legal system was slow and complicated. They also started seeing the therapist Sarah had recommended. Dr. Lee was kind and patient. She didn't push them to talk about things they weren't ready to discuss. She let them go at their own pace. What you experienced is called acute trauma, Dr. Lee explained. Your body and mind went through an extreme stress event. It's normal to have trouble sleeping, to replay the events, to feel anxious or jumpy. These are symptoms of post-traumatic stress. Will it go away? Minjun asked. With time and work, yes. Most people recover well from single-incident trauma, but you need to process what happened. You can't just push it down and ignore it. The therapy helped slowly. Minjun started sleeping a little better. The nightmares didn't stop, but they became less frequent. Jiwoo struggled more. He started having panic attacks in crowded places. Loud noises made him jump. He stopped going to restaurants because the setting reminded him too much of that night. Min-jun worried about his friend. They had been through everything together, but this was affecting Ji-woo harder. "I feel broken," Ji-woo admitted one day. "Like something inside me cracked that night and I can't fix it." "You're not broken," Min-jun said. "You're hurt. There's a difference. Dr. Lee says we're healing. It just takes time. What if I never feel normal again? Then we figure out a new normal, together like we always do." They had been best friends since high school. They had survived bad jobs and worse bosses. They had survived family problems and relationship drama. They would survive this too. A month after the incident, the trial preparation began. Prosecutors wanted to make sure they understood everything before going to court. Min-jun and Ji-woo met with Assistant District Attorney Young-soo Kim. "Your testimony is crucial," Young-soo explained. "You witnessed everything. The money laundering operation, the attempted cover-up, the cleanup crew. Your statements will help put these people away for a long time." "What about Hector?" Ji-woo asked. "The guy who threw the grenade back. He saved us." "He'll still face charges for his previous crimes," Young-soo said, "but his actions that night will be considered. He'll probably get a reduced sentence for cooperation and for what he did." It felt complicated. Hector was a criminal who had pointed a gun at them, but he had also saved their lives. "How do you feel about someone like that?" Miguel, the young enforcer, was cooperating fully with prosecutors. He gave them information about dozens of crimes. In exchange, he would enter witness protection and serve minimal jail time. "What about us?" Min-jun asked. "Are we in danger?" "No," Young-soo assured them. "The Cordero family organization in Seattle is finished. The leaders are in custody. The members who aren't arrested have scattered. You're safe." Safe. The word should have felt comforting, but it didn't. Min-jun still looked over his shoulder when he walked at night. He still felt nervous when strangers approached him. Safety wasn't just about actual danger. It was also about feeling secure, and that feeling was taking longer to come back. 6 weeks after the incident, Sarah called again. "I have news. The FBI is giving you both a civilian commendation. It's a formal recognition for bravery and assistance to federal law enforcement." "What does that mean?" Min-jun asked. "It means you get a certificate and a ceremony if you want one. It goes in your record. Some people put it on their resume. More importantly, it comes with a reward. The FBI has discretionary funds for situations like this." The reward was substantial, enough to cover several months of living expenses. It helped ease the financial stress. The ceremony was small and private, the way Min-jun and Ji-woo wanted it. Just them, Sarah, Hayes, Victor, and a few FBI officials. The FBI director for the Seattle field office personally thanked them. "Citizens like you make our job possible," the director said. "Your quick thinking and courage saved lives. The Bureau is grateful." They took photos holding their certificates. Min-jun felt awkward in his dress clothes. Ji-woo looked uncomfortable with all the attention. But it was nice to be recognized, to have what they did acknowledged officially. After the ceremony, Hayes pulled them aside. "I heard you're both thinking about not going back to the restaurant." "We don't know yet," Min-jun admitted. "I get it. That place has bad memories now. But I want you to consider something. If you let fear control your choices, the bad guys win. They took something from you. Your sense of safety, your peace of mind. Don't let them take your livelihood too." It was good advice, but easier said than done. 2 months after the incident, Mike's Burger Palace finally finished repairs. It looked completely different. New windows, new furniture, new equipment. Victor had renovated everything. It barely looked like the same place. Victor invited Min-jun and Ji-woo to see it before the grand reopening. They stood in the parking lot for several minutes before going in. "You ready?" Ji-woo asked. "No," Min-jun said honestly. "But let's do it anyway." They walked inside. The first thing Min-jun noticed was that it smelled different. Fresh paint and new materials instead of grease and cleaning products. The layout was slightly different too. Victor had moved the counter and reconfigured the kitchen. "I thought you might not want everything exactly the same," Victor explained. "New start, new look." Min-jun walked around slowly. He stood where the grenade had exploded, but the new floor and walls made it feel less real, like it had happened somewhere else. Ji-woo went into the kitchen and looked around. The prep station where they had pressed the panic button was replaced with a newer model. "There are panic buttons at every station now," Victor said. "And I hired security. Someone will always be here during operating hours. No one will ever be alone like you were that night." They spent an hour there, walking around, touching things, getting used to the new space. It helped. Not completely, but it helped. Think you could work here again? Victor asked carefully. Min-jun looked at Jiwoo. They had discussed this many times. It scared them both. But Hayes was right. They couldn't let fear control their lives forever. Part-time to start, Jiwoo said. Day shifts only. We need to work our way back. Done. Victor agreed immediately. Whatever you need. The grand reopening was a week later. Local news covered it. People lined up outside, curious to see the place that had been all over the news. Some came because they wanted to support the business. Some came because they were nosy. Min-jun and Jiwoo worked that day, but with shorter shifts. It was strange being back behind the counter, taking orders, making burgers. Every loud noise made them tense. Every difficult customer made their hearts race. But they got through it. And the next day was a little easier. And the day after that was a little easier still. Recovery wasn't a straight line. There were bad days when the memories came back strong. Days when Min-jun couldn't make himself go to work. Days when Jiwoo had to leave early because of panic attacks. But slowly, gradually, they were healing. They were taking their lives back from that one terrible night. And they were doing it together. The way best friends should. 3 months after the incident, Min-jun found himself actually looking forward to work. It surprised him. He thought he might never feel that way again about Mike's Burger Palace. But slowly, the restaurant was becoming just a workplace again instead of a trauma site. Jiwoo was doing better too. He still had rough days, but the panic attacks were less frequent. Dr. Lee said they were both making excellent progress in therapy. The human brain was good at healing, she explained, if you gave it the right tools and time. One Tuesday evening, the dinner rush was dying down. Min-jun was wiping tables while Jiwoo restocked supplies in the kitchen. The new security guard, a retired police officer named Mr. Choi, sat near the door reading a newspaper. Victor had been serious about no one ever being alone here again. The door opened and Sarah Chen walked in. She was wearing casual clothes instead of her usual professional attire. Min-jun recognized her immediately. Agent Chen, he greeted her with a genuine smile. Please, just Sarah, she said. I'm not here on business. I'm actually here as a customer. Really? I've been craving a good burger all day. She looked at the menu board. And I promise I won't complain about anything. Min-jun laughed. It felt good to laugh about it now. What can I get you? Sarah ordered a simple burger with lettuce, tomato, and mayo. Nothing complicated. No special request. Just a regular order from a regular customer. Jiwoo made the burger. And for once, everything went perfectly on the first try. Sarah took it to a table and ate it slowly, and when she was finished, she came back to the counter. That was excellent, she said sincerely. Best burger I've had in months. Thank you, Jiwoo said from the kitchen window. It helps when people don't make us remake it 4 times. Everyone laughed, including Sarah. She reached into her purse and pulled out something small. It looked like a coin. I wanted to give you both something, Sarah said. These are FBI challenge coins. We give them to people who have helped the Bureau in significant ways. They're not official awards or anything, just a tradition. Something to remember that you made a difference. The coins were heavy and well made. On one side was the FBI seal. On the other side was engraved for courage and service. Min-jun held his coin, feeling the weight of it. It was a small thing, but it meant something. Recognition not from the media or strangers, but from someone who had been there, who understood what they had gone through. Thank you, Min-jun said quietly. You both earned it, Sarah replied. I heard you're testifying next month. The trial was approaching. Prosecutors had finally finished their preparation. Min-jun and Jiwoo would have to face the defendants in court and tell their stories under oath. We're nervous about it, Jiwoo admitted. That's natural. But you'll do fine. Just tell the truth. That's all anyone expects. Sarah checked her watch. I should go. I just wanted to stop by and see how you're doing. And get that burger, of course. After she left, Min-jun put the challenge coin in his pocket. It was a reminder that something good had come from that terrible night. They had helped take down a criminal organization. They had saved lives. They had proven to themselves that they were stronger than they thought. The weeks passed quickly. Before Min-jun was ready, it was time for the trial. He put on his best suit and met Jiwoo outside the courthouse. They both looked nervous. We can do this, Minjun said, trying to convince himself as much as Jiwoo. Yeah, Jiwoo agreed. We survived a shootout. We can survive a courtroom. Inside, the courthouse was intimidating. High ceilings, marble floors, serious-looking people in suits walking purposefully. Assistant District Attorney Young-soo met them outside the courtroom and went over what to expect one more time. Just answer the questions honestly. Don't volunteer extra information. If you don't understand a question, ask for clarification. The defense attorney might try to make you nervous or confused, but that's just their job. Stay calm, Minjun testified first. He walked to the witness stand, placed his hand on the Bible, and swore to tell the truth. The courtroom was full of people. The judge, jury, lawyers, defendants, media, and spectators. It felt like everyone was staring at him. The prosecutor asked him to describe the night of the incident. Minjun spoke slowly and clearly, telling his story from the beginning. Sarah coming in with complicated orders, the spilled drink. Victor pulling out the gun, the cleanup crew arriving, the firefight, shutting off the gas leak. When he talked about the gas leak, you could hear people in the courtroom react. Quiet gasps, whispers. They understood how close everyone had come to dying in an explosion. The defense attorney cross-examined him. She was sharp and tried to poke holes in his story. Why did he really go into the kitchen during the firefight? Was he sure about the timing of events? Could he have been mistaken about what he saw? But Minjun had told this story so many times now, to police, to FBI, to prosecutors, to therapists, that he knew every detail by heart. He answered each question calmly and honestly. He didn't get flustered or angry. He just told the truth. When he stepped down from the witness stand, he felt exhausted but also relieved. That part was over. Jiwoo testified next and did just as well. He described the same events from his perspective. The two testimonies matched up perfectly, which strengthened the prosecution's case. Victor Santos testified too. He explained how he discovered the money laundering, how Marcus had been running the scheme, how the Cordero family had threatened his family. He showed the evidence he had gathered, the ledgers, bank statements, and documents that proved everything. Marcus sat at the defense table looking miserable. He didn't testify in his own defense. His lawyer advised against it. The evidence was too strong. His best hope was pleading guilty and asking for mercy. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Witnesses testified. Experts explained financial documents. FBI agents described the Cordero family's criminal organization. The jury heard everything. Finally, it was time for closing arguments. The prosecutor summarized the case. The evidence is overwhelming. Marcus Park knowingly and willfully laundered money for a criminal organization. He used his brother-in-law's legitimate business to hide illegal profits. And when he was caught, he participated in a violent attempt to destroy evidence and eliminate witnesses. The defense attorney tried to create reasonable doubt. My client made mistakes, but the prosecution hasn't proven beyond a reasonable doubt that he intended to break the law. He was coerced by the Cordero family. He feared for his life and his family's lives. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When they came back, they looked serious and tired. The judge asked if they had reached a verdict. We have, Your Honor. What say you? We find the defendant, Marcus Park, guilty on all counts. Minjun was in the courtroom when the verdict was read. He saw Marcus drop his head into his hands. He saw Victor Santos close his eyes with an expression of relief and sadness. He saw Marcus's wife, Victor's sister, crying in the gallery. It was the right verdict based on the evidence. But it was still sad. Families destroyed, lives ruined, all because of greed and bad choices. Marcus was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. With good behavior, he might get out in 12. But either way, his life as he knew it was over. Remember when complicated orders used to drive us crazy? Jiwoo asked. Yeah, Minjun said. Now they're just orders. Weird how perspective changes. They had survived something that would have broken many people. They had faced their fears and came back stronger. The experience had changed them, but not in all bad ways. Minjun was more confident now. He knew he could handle pressure. He knew he could make good decisions in crisis situations. That knowledge changed how he approached everything in life. Jiwoo was more patient and thoughtful. The trauma had made him appreciate small moments more. A quiet shift at work, coffee with friends, ordinary days with no emergencies. They still had bad days. Sometimes the memories came back strong. Sometimes loud noises or crowds triggered anxiety. But those days were becoming fewer and further between. Dr. Lee finally told them they could reduce their therapy sessions. They were managing their symptoms well. They had developed good coping strategies. They were healing. 1 year after the incident, the anniversary arrived. Minjun didn't want to make a big deal about it, but Jiwoo suggested they do something to acknowledge it. They closed the restaurant early that evening. Just Minjun, Jiwoo, Victor, and Sarah met there. They sat together at one of the tables eating burgers and talking. "Can you believe it's been a year?" Sarah asked. "Yes and no," Minjun said. "It feels like it happened yesterday and also a lifetime ago." "You've both come so far," Victor said. "I'm proud of you. Not just for what you did that night, but for how you've handled everything since." They talked about where they were now. Sarah had been promoted and was working on bigger cases. Victor had opened another restaurant and was expanding his business. Minjun and Jiwoo had both saved enough money to think about their futures. Maybe college, maybe their own business someday. "What would you tell yourself from a year ago?" Sarah asked. "If you could go back in time?" Minjun thought about it. "I'd tell myself that it gets better. That the fear and trauma don't last forever. That I'm stronger than I think. I'd tell myself not to lose hope," Jiwoo added. "Even on the darkest days, there's light ahead if you keep moving forward." They raised their drinks in a toast. Not to celebrate the trauma, but to celebrate survival, to celebrate healing, to celebrate friendship and resilience. After everyone left, Minjun and Jiwoo cleaned up together like they had done thousands of times before. It was comfortable and familiar. This restaurant had been the site of the worst night of their lives, but it had also been where they worked together, laughed together, grew up together. They had taken it back. The bad memories would always be there, but they didn't own this place anymore. Good memories were being made now, covering over the bad ones layer by layer. "You heading home?" Jiwoo asked as they finished. "Yeah, you." "Same, see you tomorrow." "See you tomorrow." Minjun walked to his car and sat for a moment before starting it. He looked at the restaurant through his windshield. The lights were off now. The closed sign was in the window. It looked peaceful. He thought about everything that had happened over the past year. The terror, the pain, the healing, the growth. It had been the hardest year of his life, but he had made it through. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the FBI challenge coin Sarah had given him. He kept it with him always, a reminder of what he was capable of. As he drove home, he noticed he wasn't checking his mirrors as obsessively as he used to. He wasn't as jumpy when cars passed close to him. The constant low-level anxiety that had followed him for months was fading. He was healing. Really healing. When he got home, he didn't have nightmares that night. He slept peacefully, dreaming of ordinary things. Morning came quietly and gently. The next day, he went back to work. He took orders from customers. He managed staff. He solved small problems. It was a normal, boring, beautiful day. A year ago, he would have complained about boring days. Now he treasured them. Boring was safe. Boring was healthy. Boring meant no one was shooting at him. A customer came in with a complaint about their order. The burger was too cold. Minjun apologized sincerely and had Jiwoo make a new one immediately. The customer left happy. "That was easy," Jiwoo said. "Yeah," Minjun agreed with a smile. "Just another day at work," and it was. Just another day. Nothing special. Nothing dramatic. Perfect. Minjun had learned that life wasn't about avoiding hard things. Hard things happened to everyone. Life was about how you responded to them. Did you let them break you, or did you find a way to keep going? He and Jiwoo had chosen to keep going. To heal, to rebuild. To reclaim their lives from one terrible night. That night had tried to define them. But they refused to let it. They were more than what had happened to them. They were survivors. They were friends. They were stronger than they ever knew they could be. Years from now, Minjun knew that night would be just a story. Something that happened once, a long time ago. It would lose its power to hurt him. It would become just another part of his history, not the defining moment of his life. He was looking forward to that day. But even now, even while the memories were still fresh, he was okay. Not perfect, not completely healed, but okay. And okay was enough. Better than okay, actually. Because he had learned something important. Courage wasn't about not being afraid. Courage was being afraid and doing the right thing anyway. He had been terrified that night. But he had acted. He had saved lives. He had been brave without even realizing it. Now, when life threw challenges at him, he knew he could handle them. He had proof. He had survived the worst and come out the other side. As the evening shift wound down, a regular customer came in, Mrs. Park, an elderly woman who came every Tuesday. She always ordered the same thing and always told them about her grandchildren. "How are my favorite workers?" she asked cheerfully. "We're good, Mrs. Park," Minjun said with a genuine smile. Really good, and he meant it. He really was good. The restaurant hummed with normal activity. Orders came in, food went out, the fryer bubbled. The grill sizzled. The register dinged. All the ordinary sounds of a working restaurant. It was music to Minjun's ears. He looked at Jiwoo through the kitchen window. His best friend was focused on making a burger, getting every detail right. Jiwoo looked up and their eyes met. They shared a small nod of understanding. They had survived. They had healed. They had won. Life went on, and it was good. The end of the shift came. Minjun and Jiwoo closed up together, following their routine. Lock the doors, clean the equipment, count the register, set the alarm. As they walked to their cars, Jiwoo said, "Another day done." "Another day done," Minjun echoed. They went home to their normal lives. Tomorrow they would come back and do it again. And the day after that? And the day after that. Because that's what survivors do. They keep going. They keep living. They keep finding joy in ordinary moments. And that, Minjun realized, was the best revenge against everything that tried to break them. They didn't just survive. They lived. Fully. Completely. Without fear controlling their choices. That night, chaos had hit the kitchen. An undercover agent had triggered a chain of events that nearly killed them all. But from that chaos came strength. From that darkness came growth. Minjun learned he was capable of more than he ever imagined. He learned that friendship could survive anything. He learned that healing was possible, even from the worst trauma. Most importantly, he learned that one bad night, no matter how terrible, didn't have to define his entire life. He could choose to move forward. He could choose to heal. He could choose to live without fear, and he did. They both did. Together. The way best friends should. The story that started with chaos and fear ended with peace and hope. It ended with two friends who refused to be defeated by what happened to them. It ended with healing. It ended with life going on, beautiful and ordinary and perfect in its simplicity. It ended with Minjun and Jiwoo exactly where they belonged, together, working side by side, facing whatever came next with courage and friendship. The chaos had hit the kitchen, but they had survived, and that made all the difference.